Welcome to the Your Family Dog podcast, where we celebrate the special bond between families and their canine companions. Our goal is to help families and dogs grow up together, one episode at a time. Welcome back to the Your Family Dog podcast. I'm your host, Tina Spring, and I'm joined today by John Crissy, founder of Perpetual, and he is a dog longevity expert. So I'm excited to have you on the show today, John. Tell me how you got what brought you to the dog world?
Brought me to it. It's a journey. Well, I guess we got time. We'll go about it. So really what brought me to the dog world is really on the human side. I was doing health coaching and I was lucky to be introduced to like my now health guru 10 years ago. And back then he was preaching gut health and it kind of was just a buzzword back then. I was like, yeah, I get it. And then I started doing all of his protocols, and I saw a huge change not only in my physical, body, but also my mental health. So I was like, wow, this is interesting. And then I was just like a sponge when it came to him. I wanted to absorb all the information I could. So that got me down the path of health coaching with humans. And one of the key diagnostic tools I was using was a hair tissue mineral analysis. And I know we'll get into it because it's something we're now doing with pets. So that kind of I was going down that avenue, and there wasn't many people doing this diagnostic test with humans. So it was a niche space, but they kept talking about this vet that was doing it with dogs, and I had like this aha, like light bulb moment, like oh my gosh, people like care about their dog's health way more than their own health. So I ended up reaching out to the vet. I bought her book. Her name is Dr. Ava. She's now our chief medical advisor. We established a friendship, and then that turned into a partnership. So that's kind of how we got into Perpetual.
Right. So you're not a veterinarian. I already asked you that.
Exactly.
But you said you have three veterinarians that are on your advisory committee.
Correct. So we have Dr. Ava, Dr. Jess, and Dr. Melissa, and we built Perpetual alongside them. It's something that they're huge in the integrative and holistic space. So it's very important to us that we're doing things that way versus kind of standard veterinarian care. And we could touch on that a little more often, but yes, we're very integrative and functional care based.
Well, and I think there's room in the space for all of the pieces and that they ideally work together. I think I say this on the podcast all the time that the medical complex, whether it's human or animal, is really there to treat disease, disorder, injury, but not really, they don't really know how to build health, right? They don't know how to build wellness and longevity. So I view it as all being on the same team. Um, Sometimes I think the traditional medicine route kind of breaks down some of that more holistic integrative side, and then you have to rebuild again. Kind of like when we take antibiotics, we have to rebuild. Um, but I think there's room in the space for everybody. I think that science is rarely settled. And so as time goes on, we learn more, we look differently, we look in more, greater detail sometimes, and it just comes up as a different, we just learn new stuff. The gut microbiome, I have to tell you, I'm so curious about it, and it's like trying to drink out of a fire hose. And so I abandon it because I'm like, okay, well, I don't, like there's tons of new information every single day, and it's exhausting to try to add on top of my busy day to like try to ferret out. I would love it if someone came up with like an easy guide, whether it
To the
was for
guy.
me or for my dog, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Well, the microbiome in itself is very complex. And, like you said, there's information overload, there's prebiotics, there's probiotics, and now there's postbiotics. And like, depending on every microbiome is unique. So, like, this strain of bacteria works for my microbiome, but it doesn't work for your microbiome. So, it's a lot out there, and there's a lot of like noise that, yeah, there needs to be clarity and an easy way to digest it and kind of what we're doing because there is so many inputs but not great output. Like, oh, I have all this great data, but what do I do with it? Am I
right
chat
now what?
GPTing? Like I'm over here like paralysis by analysis. But that's what we really focused on with Perpetual is like, yes, we have great inputs from the diagnostic test, but like really focusing on that solution for the dog parents. So it's like you can make it part of your everyday life versus like oh crap, I just got all these biomarkers and now I'm more confused than I was when I started.
Exactly. So can you talk about what Perpetual does?
Yes, so we're a preventative self healthcare system. So I say self healthcare, it's kind of popping up in the human space where you're kind of taking it on your own. Like I'm going to take care of my own health because my doctors have sort of failed me. So we really empower pet parents to be their primary care provider for their pups. So they're less reliant on standard veterinarian care. And we were talking about it, yes, like this should be a partnership. There's a piece for everything, but a lot of like longevity and health needs to start at home with the
Yeah.
dog parent, and we need to be way more aware of issues because dogs show symptoms very late, even later than humans, because naturally through evolution they've been shown to never show fear, right, or weakness, because if you show weakness in the safari and in the prairie, like you get eaten. So this gives you insights very early on in the stage. So what we do is diagnostic testing via fur. So people are like, wait, fur? Like, how does the fur tell me anything about my dog's health? We're so accustomed to using blood testing, but fur actually is a 120-day biological time capsule. And that's kind of how I like explain it. I remember as like kids, we built time capsules and we put like things in it. We'd come back 20 years and like, open it up. So that's what happens. So when the fur is in its growth stage, so it's under the skin, it's exposed to all the interstitial fluid that goes through the body. So that compare the interstitial fluid carries everything like in your pantry, your nutrients, your vitamins, the bad stuff, the toxins, everything your cells are exposed to, that's in the interstitial fluid. So that gets trapped in the fur shaft or the hair shaft. So then when we do this fur tissue mineral analysis, you have that 120-day biological blueprint of what everything was going on in the dog's body. So through looking back in the past over those 120 days, we can actually predict the future of what's going to happen. And we can spot things way earlier than blood and 10 times thousand, 10 times thousand, 10 times thousand smaller than what's in the blood. Took me a while to
Oh,
get that one
wow.
out, but it was a tongue twister. But yeah, so it's a really powerful diagnostic that we're trying to bring mainstream. It's popular in the integrative space with a couple vets, but it's not yet accepted widely. And it can be a great tool for parents to get those early insights and take action.
Right. Because, well, maybe not everybody. I've totally taken a dog to the vet because I'm like, you're not acting right. Like something's wrong. I don't know what's wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
something's wrong. Right. And then I am totally out of my depth. I'm like, okay, he's doing this, 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 and this that's different. Something's wrong. And then asking my vet to solve the puzzle. It would be great if I was able to provide them with more data that said, here, this is what his body's doing. So talk about how the perpetual kit works. That I'm assuming you pull hair.
No pooling. This is very non-invasive. So how it works, it's a membership model. So you get 3 tests per year, every 120 days. The reason why we test every 120 days is there's a major biological shift in dogs and in animals in general every 120 days. So there's no gaps, there's no blind spots. So if there's something happening, you're going to catch it and you're going to catch it very early on. So you get the collection kit shipped to your door. In the collection kit, you're sent medical grade stainless steel scissors. It's very important that they're medical grade. You don't want to be using your like at-home scissors because they can have shards of aluminum or they can have chemicals on it. So we'll throw off all the tests. So it's important to use those scissors. You take a little snippet of the dog's hair, about a quarter size of hair, and then that's sent to our laboratory. And then 48 hours later, via our mobile app, you get all the results and breakdowns of like major body systems, the endocrine system, the renal system, the hepatic system, the immune system, and then individual scores within those systems. Like, how is my dog's liver functioning? How is their thyroid? What is their heart? What is their ability to digest certain proteins? So it's a very, complex, but also easy way to digest what's going on with your dog because you don't have to look at 150 biomarkers like, hey, this is my dog's thyroid score, this is their liver score. It's an easy way to understand like what needs support, what's working optimal, and how do we support the dog.
Okay, so when there's, hey, your dog's body needs support, what do those recommendations look like? Is it then like does the Does the testing kit also go, here are the things you can do? Or is it now we have data and we don't know really what to do?
So that's the issue, right, with a lot of these diagnostic companies on the human space, is you get all this amazing data, and then you're like, I don't know what this means. I'm going to go to
Right.
ChatGPT and I'm going to like, what is a elevated liver enzyme? How is that affecting? So we were very cognitive of that being a major issue. So we've built into the mobile application a whole protocol section that speaks to diet, exercise, and supplementation. So if there are issues and there are body systems that need support, you're going to have an exact blueprint of what to do, from the exact supplements you can take to support that body system, what exercises and what exercises amount you should be doing. Because oftentimes you might see a dog in a 4 low pattern, which means that their body system is shutting down. So the last thing you want to be doing is overexerting that dog's body. They need to be more in a rest and digest phase temporarily to help support those body systems and to help support them heal. So this is the type of information that you'll get within the app, and it's insights that most standard vets wouldn't even be able to give you because they don't have this type of information, and they don't have it early on because standard veterinary care is reactive care, right? It comes into the
Right.
equation once there's a problem, and that's kind of a problem in itself.
Right. I mean, it's not a very efficient way. It's kind of like, do you do maintenance on your car or do you wait until there's a major breakdown and then you fix stuff? It's a different way to navigate it, and one that generally is less expensive in my experience.
Yeah, so that's what we're really to is obviously, gosh, owning a vet or owning a pet these days has become way too costly. And we're trying to lower the lifetime cost of owning a dog or a pet through preventative care. Because it's like, yes, you pay a little bit up front, but you're dealing with issues very early on that become, if you don't, they become much bigger and costly issues where you're getting the 500 to $1,000 vet bills, and often kind of like, okay, I'm kind of leaving the vet with more questions than answers because like, we think it's this. Take this for 2 months and come back, and we'll run more diagnostics and we'll keep you on the hamster wheel. Kind of,
Well, and
it's
again,
way to go.
I don't think that's usurious. It's just that's how they that's how the medical complex works. Like, so, um, I had breast cancer 3 years ago. I go actually later today for an infusion. And Christopher, my partner, was saying, oh, I just want you to come home and rest after. And I'm like, the infusion isn't the hard part. Like, the hard part is all the other rigmarole that I have to go through to do the infusion. And I'm glad they do it. I'm glad they do blood work and see where I am and make sure everything's good and that I touch base with the nurse practitioner. That's great. But I'm 3 years out. Like, I'm going to be on these meds another 2 years because that's the protocol. And every 6 months, I get this infusion to try to prevent a problem that the medications I'm on cause. And so it's it is a little bit of a hamster wheel of like, ugh, it's going to take way long. Like, the infusion is the least of it. It's all the other stuff. And I do constantly think about how all this treatment has changed how my body functions, and that I'd really like to get back to where I was before stage 0 breast cancer. So I'm a little bit on that journey myself, but there's pieces I can't change for another 2 years because I have to follow their protocol. So, so I think the same thing happens in veterinary care, right? That they have to go back and retest. Did we get, and I'm glad they do that. It gives us data, but you're right. It always feels like it's a lagging system.
It's a lagging system, and on top of that, blood testing. If you're only doing blood testing once a year and you're going off of that, it's not very effective or accurate because
It's
what
a
the
moment
blood
in time.
it's a snapshot, it's a moment in time, and then also the blood works in very narrow ranges. It's always striving for homeostasis. So if there's something in the blood, let's say toxins, right? That blood's going to say, we're taking you out, we're putting you in some fatty tissue, or we're storing you in the bones. We're not keeping you in the bloodstream. So to go off of one single blood test, and if your vet's kind of basing all their off one, it's not good because oftentimes the blood test comes, oh, nothing's wrong. It's not going to see it, right? Because of that homeostasis that it's striving for. And then on top of that, if it is showing up in the blood at that point, you're like, oh, this is a big problem, you know?
Right.
So that's why, the fur, I think, is a superior diagnostic because you're catching it way early on and you're able to see things that are way smaller and over a 120-day period versus that snapshot in a moment.
So talk to me about cost.
So cost of the membership.
Yeah.
So we are in our pre-sale right now. We launch at the end of this month. Right now, it's $1 a day. So I always say like $1 a day, less than your Starbucks coffee. After that, the membership's going to go up to its regular price for $475 a year. So with that, it's like a little over $1 a day. You get the 3 tests, you get the 3 curated care plans and protocols. So really, when you look at the cost risk reward, like one, it's better for your dog to care this way in a preventative way. And then also, yes, I'm spending 475, but I'm possibly, or a good chance, alleviating the possibility of that 500, 600, $700 vet bill downstream.
Right. I'm just thinking of my 3 dogs and a cat. And I'm like, ooh, that's a lot of money.
So we're working on ability to do like package deals. If you sign up one more than one dog, obviously we can do discounts as well.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of us have more than one animal. And so, yeah, $475 doesn't sound awful um, at all. And it sounds like it's a wonderful program, but times four, we start to get into some big numbers. So, talk to me about okay, so we're doing this hair sampling on the dog, we're sending it in, we're getting results. What if people have questions?
So, right, we have a support line that you could reach out to us. We're adding in the ability, this is probably phase 2, where you can speak to one of our integrative vets. That's more phase 2. And then also building out like a coach in a way, like for lighter questions, for easier questions. We're building out an AI model where we're taking our integrative vets knowledge base and uploading that into the LLM, the large language model. So it trains and learns off strictly their knowledge base. It's not pulling from anything in the internet because that
Right,
wouldn't
that's
be
what I
good.
was going to ask because
So
that
for
could
like
get
lighter questions, my dog's stool looks this way, or my dog is, a little bit lethargic. It can help answer those or support those. And then if it is a bigger issue, kick it up to our integrative vets where you can speak to them one on one.
okay. So with this testing, I'm going to tell you my sad story. So in December, I lost 2 dogs to cancer, like out of the blue. A 4-year-old Doberman with osteosarcoma, and then a 12-year-old dog to hemangiosarcoma within a week. So kind of just it felt like being hit by a bus. It's part of why the podcast got real quiet for a little while.
Yeah.
So because I
I
like couldn't
that.
talk about it. I just couldn't
Mhm.
talk about it. Like it sucked all the air out of my lungs. So those cancers, those 2 cancers are cancers that you don't see if you're not, you know, well, hemangiosarcoma, I don't even know that they really have a way to test for it. I don't believe either of those show up in blood work until, again, it's a serious, major, like this dog is dying kind of thing. So, is this testing that would be able to identify something like that?
Not cancers in general, but this is really like, let's go back to the root of the problem. Where are these cancers coming from? And they say, like, there's a saying like genetics, load the gun, environment pulls the trigger. A lot of the health issues and cancers are environmental. And let's dive. What are dogs exposed to daily? And what is like the biggest like lever you could pull for keeping your dog healthy and probably mitigating the risk of cancer? It's like what is in their bowl controls. Like what are we feeding our dogs? Is this helping them or harming them? Is this food nutritious or is it toxic? And if we look at food across the board, for the most part, from big food, big pet food, it is very harmful for the dog. And I'll tell you two reasons. What does cancer love? It loves an inflammatory environment, and it loves an environment that is has high blood sugar. High blood sugar is rocket fuel for cancer. So you look at these foods, tons of carbs, tons of starchy carbs. What does that do to the dog's glucose and blood sugar? Through the roof. So this is creating an environment that just allows cancer to thrive. So that is one of the big things is like, yes, do we can we like say, your dog has cancer? Can we like test for that? No, not specifically, but we can tell you exactly what's going on inside the dog's body, their blood sugar regulation, their inflammation markers, what foods you should be specifically feeding. Not everyone knows that a dog has a specific metabolic type. And based off that metabolic type, there should be certain proteins fed versus other proteins. So if you have a dog who has a fast metabolic type and is in a sympathetic nervous state, the last thing you want to be feeding that dog is like red meat or lamb because that's a warming protein. It's a high purine protein. So that's like pouring gasoline on a fire. So knowing your dog's metabolic type and knowing exactly what proteins to feed, what type of fats to feed, can then create an environment that's conducive to mitigate the cancer or the risk of cancer.
Okay. So not necessarily testing and saying, hey, you've got a warning about your dog has bone cancer, but instead, like, hey, you need to adjust what you're feeding to try to help that dog's metabolic rate.
Exact help their metabolic rate, and then like how do we lower inflammation, systemic inflammation? Then how do we lower your dog's blood sugar to get that more in line so you're not creating an environment that's conducive for cancer to thrive?
So I feed, um, I won't say the brand, but I feed no legume, no grain, a raw mix with kibble because I have a lot of animals, so cost effective. And then we augment with cold pasteurized, freeze dried raw and a lot of fresh food. So, I buy chicken thighs when they're on sale and Instapot them or beef or whatever and augment with that. And then fresh vegetables, sometimes kefir.
Kefir is
Um,
good. Cruciferous
so
vegetables are amazing for like anti-cancer properties. Your broccoli, your
broccoli.
cauliflower.
Yeah. And all my dogs have historically loved those. They hate Brussels sprouts, but they will eat broccoli, they'll eat cauliflower. Um, so the I honestly like these are the first two dogs I've lost to cancer in a very, very long time. So the story that I tell is in my youth, my dogs died of cancer. And as I've gotten older and I've learned more, my dogs generally die of excruciating pain that we can't control anymore, just from aging, where it's
Mm.
spinal stenosis for like an 18-year-old Jack Russell Terrier kind of thing. So these two getting cancer when I have a whole house filter for water because our local municipal water report is terrifying. We also have a whole house filter for, we have a Remy Halo system for our home so that we keep virus and bacteria down. So, and allergens. So, like, as a dog owner, think I'm doing a pretty good job, right? My vet actually said that I bring her the healthiest dying dogs that she's ever seen, right? Like that they have long, long lives. Something eventually will get them, and I'm aware of that. I'm just trying to push that off. Um, but I do generally think we try to do a really good job of keeping my dogs safe and healthy. Um, so this is just another tool to add to that toolbox.
Exactly. Like you're a lot like a lot of proactive dog moms is like there are dog dads as well. I not exclude the dads. They
Poor
love
dog
their dogs.
dads.
Dog
They get
parents.
short shrift.
Yeah, they do. They do. Like we're doing all the things, right? We're feeding the right food, we're filtering the water, we're being proactive about, making sure they get the proper exercise. But when it comes down to it, there is a massive question is like, is it working? We are still flying
Right.
so blind when it comes to our dog's health. Even though we're doing all these things, we don't know what's going on inside their body. It's like one of the things we say is like, this gives your dog's body a voice every 120 days. So it's like, if the protocols and the things you are doing are working, if the food you are feeding are nurturing the dog or harming the dog, you will know. And I think that is the huge gap between what we're doing now and where we can go, is having those insights and that knowledge of actually knowing, hey, is what I'm doing for my dog working?
So is there a specific age that you would say, like, okay, if you're starting to see changes in your dog because your dog is 7 years old, because there is, it's very interesting to me. It's so interesting because I see these things that happen that lots of dogs, the age of 7, when somebody's going to lose a dog young, they have like a major health crisis at 7. It's really weird. So, is there an age? I mean, I think ideally we all would be doing this from the time our puppies are babies, but in a less than perfect world, when would you tell someone to start?
So I would say, like Dr. Abe always says, like longevity starts in the womb, because whatever the mother is exposed to, or whatever toxins the mother has or dispositions the mother has, is then passed on to the puppy. Uh,
Absolutely.
through several phases. One, obviously the breast milk, just a lot like humans, the mom, a mother human, influences their dogs or their baby's microbiome, and that build up an immune system through the breast milk. So I would say yes, longevity starts in the womb. So you can never be too early to start longevity. Uh,
Right.
and when it comes to like that number 7, it's like these are compounding effects that stack up, and eventually, like you're pouring your coffee, and and you forget you're pouring. Eventually, that cup is going to spill over, and
Right.
that's kind of that spot at 7 years for a dog. If you're not supporting systems or mitigating issues early on, those 7 years of compounding effects then spill over the cup, and at that point, it becomes very hard for the body to rebound. So I would say the earlier the better, but obviously I understand, like in an ideal world that would be the case. But I would say yeah, somewhere around that, when they're in the adult phase. So you got like puppy, junior adult, before they become mature and senior, because you want to get to those issues early before they become bigger issues that become very hard to deal with and costly
So,
to deal.
like that 3 year mark.
That would probably be the sweet spot. Yep.
Okay. But if we caught it, so I'm just going to be randomly curious because that's me. So, if you did this testing on a 3 month old puppy, what data would it give you?
So it would give you all sorts of data, specifically, like let's just focus on toxins and chemicals. So we've realized through testing this that dogs have 10 times higher levels than mercury than in humans, which is not good, because mercury is a
Yeah, that's terrifying.
very to the immune system, to their neurological system. And you think, like, why is that, right? Because dogs, one, they don't wear clothes, so their overall exposure to these toxins and stuff are way higher. We wear clothes, so we kind of have a preventative layer. They're rolling around, they're getting into things. They don't bathe like us daily. So we're washing and kind of helping detox. And then a lot of dogs need liver support. I know Dr. Ava, she's done a peer-reviewed study with 570 dogs in her study. I think 94% of those dogs had elevated mercury, and tying back to a stressed liver. So their detox pathways are very effective right now, whether that be through the food or overall environment. So once those toxins come in, it's very hard for those dogs to properly detox and get them out. So that's one of the things you would see in
But
a
there are
puppy.
protocols to do it.
There are protocols to do it. Like detox, we focus on. We don't focus on the all-in detox. We recommend going to a vet to do that, because
Right.
if you detox the wrong way, it can go south fast. And you need to make sure that the proper systems are working ideally before you start detoxing. You want to make sure the microbiome, the liver, the kidneys, because once you start detoxing, you're going to tax those systems even more.
Right.
You got to make sure those systems are ready for that detox. So that's an important part of detoxing.
So if the vet, so I guess my question would be how that works for the vet, because The vet's not getting the same data. I mean, obviously we can provide it. I can take my test results to my vet, who would probably think it was amazing. But how do they know if those systems are set up to be ideal to detox?
So you again, right? So that's why we test every 120 days, right? We say like phase one, you're establishing the dog's baselines. So you kind of know where they're at, what body systems are working properly, which ones are not.
Hmm.
From that phase, we're going to give protocols to support those systems in need. Then you test again, right? And then you kind of see where those body systems are at. So let's run through that scenario of like, all right, phase one, I see a lot of toxins in my dog, heavy metals, mercury, aluminum. So we're then going to support the liver, the microbiome, and other areas that help with detox. And then when we retest in phase two, 120 days on the road, we're going to see, all right, how is the liver functioning right now? How is the microbiome set up? Are they properly ready to prepare for like a heavier detox? And often what we find is from test one to test two, because we supported the liver and we supported certain systems, those heavy metals that were elevated are now in a ideal range because the body is going to, if it's healthy, it's going to do its job, right? It was built to detox. So oftentimes we see that those heavy metals are no longer an issue once we supported the liver and the other body systems.
Oh, so you see that it resolves because the body really is trying to be efficient and to be healthy.
Correct.
So talk to me about I'm seeing a trend where veterinary offices are becoming corporate owned, not vet owned. And it's almost like veterinary care by flow chart. Like it's like a really weird experience where it feels like now not my vet's locally owned by the veterinarians, but at these corporate vets, which is what I'm calling them, because that seems to be that they're owned by a big corporation.
Yes.
Um, that it's like the vets don't have the freedom. For example, they'll run a dip of urine for a puppy with a suspected UTI, but the consumer doesn't seem to have the option to say, well, could we culture the urine instead so we're treating this specific bug that's causing a problem? And the vets pushing back and saying like we don't really have that as an option, and if you push and say no, this is the standard of care I want to utilize, the pricing is like unbelievable. Like I had a local client that had a culture for a urinary tract infection that was hundreds of dollars, which is nuts. Like that
Yeah,
there's
the
no way
cost
that
of that is nothing.
a
Yeah.
culture should not be hundreds of dollars. And then and a ton of pressure from that veterinary office, right? That then they had to do retesting, which was going to be the same price again. And like it was just cost prohibitive. So here's a family who, in my opinion, based on what I've learned from my vets in the